Hello and welcome to the Cannes Parallel Challenge 2024. My name is Arno.
And my name is Matt, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing David Cronenberg and his films Spider and this year's The Shrouds. David Cronenberg is a Canadian filmmaker, often known as the creator of the body horror genre. His films explore ideas such as mutation, disfigurement, the relation between the viscerality of sex and violence, media, and its transformative powers to the human mind, and transhumanism. Lots of big ideas. His films straddle the gap between accessible and cerebral, always delivering on the guts and gore while also touching on these deeper themes. My favorites of his films have to be The Fly and Naked Lunch, but I think the most famous is probably Videodrome, which has become a cult classic. Since the early 2000s, Cronenberg has really put his horror roots to the side and focused more on dramas that occasionally have some genre flair to them. And these films have made him a recurring feature at the Cannes Film Festival. In 2022, after a very long time, Cronenberg returned to the body horror genre with Crimes of the Future, and now he's back with another horror film. So Spider competed for the Palme d'Or in 2002, and that's why we're talking about it today.
Spider starts with the title character of Spider, played by Ralph Fiennes, who arrives at a halfway house in London. It's never explicitly said, but clearly he suffers from a mental disorder of some sort. Key memories of his childhood come rushing back into his head and reveal, or perhaps further blurs, the character's trauma surrounding the relationship with his parents and his sexual frustrations. I have not seen as many Cronenberg films as you have, but I do really like the filmmaker. I think maybe the biggest negative towards this film is that on a concept level or on a thematic levels, these are ideas that have been explored in other films. However, I think that a lot of things do heighten this film, notably Ralph Fiennes' incredible performance here. And it's crazy to think that he was attached to the project before Cronenberg had even stepped onto the project.
I can agree that Ralph Fiennes was pretty good in the movie, but I was not hot on Spider whatsoever. I would say this might actually be my least favorite Cronenberg movie by a long shot. I found it to be bland, overlong. Even at only 100 minutes, it felt like this could have been a short film. This could have been an email. And it basically treads no new territory in its depiction of mental illness. It has an aim of trapping us in the spider web of a mind. And the film succeeds in making us suffer with this character, but I just found it deeply boring, even if it's succeeding in what it's aiming for. I find films that mostly focus on the interiority of a character and watching them have flashbacks the most boring subset of films. I don't want to watch someone cope with past trauma. I want to see someone taking action.
That's unfortunate that you put it that way. I don't think the film is top tier David Cronenberg. I was hooked the whole way through, and I do think that the character is taking action throughout the film. But I think what stands out here is the way Cronenberg is going for a bit of an expressionistic take on the interiority of a man with mental illness. I love the way we focus only on a select few settings and we keep kind of returning to them, almost as if we're just kind of spinning around the same kind of locations. And we see them a lot from different angles, whether it is the big gas machine, under the bridge, within the halfway house, or the childhood home, the bar. I love that in the present day, we see our character walking through the streets, observing certain things, and we feel his loneliness subconsciously because there is nobody, no extras, no cars, nothing on the streets. And it's enticing to see these empty streets in what should be much more of a booming metropolitan area. I think the cast and the way Cronenberg tries to visually present this character and this mindset so that we feel like we're in his head by the end of the film makes up for what might be a subject that isn't the most novel.
From my understanding, The Shrouds is going to be nothing like Spider, and it's going to be much more similar to Crimes of the Future from a few years ago. It's really important to understand where this film comes from. Cronenberg and his wife, Caroline Zeifman, were married in 1979 and stayed together until her death in 2017. Cronenberg had been on a hiatus from directing since 2014 after directing Maps to the Stars, and after his wife's death in 2017, he took 5 years to return to film, and I'm unsure how, but it's almost like Cronenberg is processing his grief over the loss of his wife through the genre that made him, exploring the temporary nature of the human body and the way that all things made of flesh and blood must die. The Shrouds tells the story of a businessman who is grieving the death of his wife, and this businessman builds a device to connect with the dead, almost like a science fiction horror version of the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice. The film stars Vincent Cassel and Diane Kruger and reunites Cronenberg with frequent collaborator Howard Shore.
Cronenberg is getting to a point where he is aging. He is starting to be seen as this legacy director who has done a lot to cinema and maybe hasn't gotten quite his dues. If the jury feels that way, they could award him something like another jury prize or a director prize. But the thing is that Crimes of the Future was kind of positioned that way as well, and that didn't win anything. Because of that, I wouldn't expect this film to win anything.
Cronenberg has only won one prize at Cannes in the past, and it was in 1996 he won a special jury prize for Crash. But one thing I will say is the fact that this film is so personal, it's possible this could dive into some territory that might really resonate with the jury and give an opportunity for them to award him a prize like director, screenplay, or the jury prize.
In the next episode, we go all the way back in Sean Baker's catalog to Take Out and look ahead to his new film, Anora.
So come with us on a journey from a no-budget indie to Neon's big summer movie.